When you remember you're perfectly made for your purpose, the way you look, the way you think, the way you experience the world, we need you. You are such a needed puzzle piece. Stop trying to be like everyone else, because then you cannot fit in, and you're not even meant to fit in, right? But it's just like, you came to be here, you, and if you're not, the world is missing out, and so are you.
Hello, everyone. I think that this has been such a wonderful pause, but now I am ready to start season 3 of Thrive with Sharon podcast. I am so excited because things are continuing to take shape. I am listening to what you're saying about what you really want to hear and who you want to hear from. And today is one of those days where we're actually bringing in someone who I have just recently met and now consider to be one of my sisters. And she is just absolutely a beautiful, divine being. And I knew it from the minute that I met her. I was like, oh, there she is. Oh, there she is, right? So I just want to do a quick introduction to Petia Kolibova, and I'm probably not pronouncing it perfectly. Okay, wonderful. And the thing about Petia is I can't wait to dig into some of her story and what she's doing and why she is where she is. But first, I just want to read a little bit about Petia and what she'd like us to know about her. So she is a woman's alignment coach who knows that, worth and value has been pushed down by external events. People in general, especially women, have been encouraged or placed in positions where they're being asked to play small. And she has decided to make this part of her life's mission to allow space for women to really understand their worth and to really live an abundant life. One of the things that Petia has discovered as one of her great gifts to give to women, especially in her retreats, is the ability to remove the blocks that are limiting themselves to really show up in the world, which is one of the reasons why I feel like we're so aligned. And I love the fact that she really works on self-belief and limiting beliefs. So Petia is many, many things. She's a podcast host. She holds incredible retreats. She also does like a very kind of high touch private service for people to come and stay with her. She and her husband live in Tulum, Mexico, one of the most spiritual places and beautiful energy in that particular area. So Petia, I can't wait to introduce you to the Thrive with Sharon community. I know they're just absolutely going to love you. So welcome. Welcome.
Oh, Sharon, wow, I'm so happy this is recorded, because I'm like just like basking in it, Thank you. And I feel like it's so beautiful that we can be really like tuned into who we like align with. And like you said, like when we met, like I was like right away drawn to you, to your energy. But then when I was able to sit with you and like listen to you, and also tuning into your wisdom, and how much impact you are creating in people's lives and how you're helping them to shift, it's so beautiful. Like I'm getting goosebumps on my back. So amazing that you just can walk into the room full of people, dozens of people, and there is 1, 2 people that you really like click with, and it's like, I don't know where we're going, but I know we are going somewhere together. So I'm feeling really honored to be here with you on your show. Like, what an honor, and sharing about how to be thriving in life. And I'm super excited to have you later on also on my podcast, because I know that if I loved your energy, my tribe will be like all over you. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's just such a joy to have you here, and the fact that we were able to really spend time in it was a very busy weekend, and how we connected was through Amberly Lago and her kickoff weekend for the mastermind. And it was wonderful that we actually got to spend time together and really see each other. right? Because with all of that energy and so many people coming together, it is challenging to manage, being able to really connect with individuals, like really connect, and be present. And that's one of the things that I noticed about you was the fact that you were really able to be fully present in yourself,
Mm.
right? In your holistic self. And you were very authentic about what you were experiencing at that time as well, which to me showed just such a wonderful, powerful human being and soul that you are. Um, I I would love for you to share about what drew you towards, how long have you lived in Tulum? And just a little bit about your life there, because I think so many of us just kind of fantasize about being able to make that leap, right? And really just surrender to whatever life might allow them to experience by taking that first step or big
Mhm.
jump.
I feel like it's a big jump into the unknown, no matter where you are, because like one thing it's planning your life, and like Sharon, I planned my whole life and nothing it's like how I planned it or expected it. And some things are better, some things like, oh, not so good. And
Mhm.
it's just really, I loved it to use that word surrender,
Mm,
because it's really, it doesn't matter how we plan the things, we're planning them from our past experiences and where we are like grounded, seated now. But the future, it's really connected to who we are becoming. So that's
mm,
why it's so important to really surrender into the possibilities. And so interesting, like when people look at me and my life, they're like, wow, you're so courageous. I'm like, I don't know if I'm courageous or crazy. It's both our own sea, right? So that could be it. But
mm,
it just felt really like taking a huge leap. And for me, Sharon, I just felt like I never felt like I belong. I'm coming from like my unpronounceable name, which you pronounce great. You did it great, really. My unpronounceable name and my accent, it's all from small town in Czech Republic where I was, raised. And I left Czechia when I was 20 years old, and I moved to
mm,
London. Then I moved to Spain for a few years. Then I moved to United States for 12 years, and now we are living over a year now in Mexico, in Tulum, beautiful Caribbean. Coming back to States next month because my husband is excited to go back into infrastructure and more civilization. So yeah, it's again another leap, right? Because
mm, mm,
there's just like a different values, right? There are being portrayed.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I feel like for me, I always deep inside knew I'm meant for more. When I looked around when I was a teenager, when I looked how my parents were living, and my stepfather was physically, mentally abusive, then I ran away from home when I was 18 into the relationship that was even worse because felt familiar, right? We go from what we know to what we know unless we change who we are.
mhm.
And that was so destructive that I attempted for suicide when I was 18 because I'm like,
Oh,
if this is life, I don't want to live it. I run away from home. My mother stopped talking to me because she was upset that I ran away from home. It's like,
mhm.
well, your husband told me that he will like smash my head on the wall if she wouldn't
Oh,
walk in. So you see, it's just like the one who is supposed to protect me is protecting her marriage,
yeah.
and I'm like, well, there gotta be value. So like saying that means that I had to do a lot of work and a lot of healing on my
Yeah.
relationship too.
Well, and I just want to speak into that for a second because especially, for our communities, our collective communities, because there's so much overlap, I believe, in your tribe, my tribe communities, and all that stuff, and our movement that we're a part of. But, coming from the trauma lens, right? So, which is something that I always try to utilize, not like a traumatized lens, but the trauma informed and like kind of the trauma authority, right? Of like how you can really understand how this really works. And I think that it's so powerful that you share this example because, um, we really still misunderstand trauma,
Mhm.
right? And I think that this is a wonderful way for us to unpack it so people can really understand the process of how this happens, right? So, first of all, I would love to share the fact that like trauma is not a dirty word. It's not a bad word, right? And the thing that is most important for us to understand is we're all here to evolve. We're all here for evolution. And if we don't acknowledge the fact that there's trauma and that there's healing that needs to be done, then we lack evolution, right? We're saying no to evolution, which means lack of life, right? So I want to say from the trauma perspective, sometimes it's very, very difficult to handle and deal with somebody who is like your stepfather or former stepfather. However, I don't know what the status is. Um, so, but it's really mostly about the thing that's the most traumatic for us is usually the people who we want to be closest to and their responses or their lack of protection to the experiences that we're having that are very real, that invalidation of the fact that like, you're not as important, you're not as worthy, you're, whatever, fill in the blanks. And I know that you've shared some of that in your own personal story, but I think it's important for us to not compare, right? Our experiences, but really honor you, the soul that you are, and how you had to move and wriggle and sometimes really suffer through your own becoming.
Mhm. Beautiful recognition, like I feel like we all want to be seen and heard, right? And recognizing, like you said, that the trauma, it's not a dirty world, it's really about what did we experience, how did we felt, and really acknowledging that, because like we are here to experience the world to all of its fullness, evolve and grow and inspire even better, right? Because
Mm.
you stay in the blaming, like I am in a place that I healed my relationship with my mother, with
Mm.
my stepfather. I attempted and it didn't work. He's on a different journey. I created a piece for myself.
Mm.
All of this journey led me into being who I am. And I
Mm.
don't believe we have to hit a rock bottom. I
Mm.
don't believe that we have to go through suffering. There will always be pain, and
Yes.
whether our loved one transition, whether our pet transitions, whether you feel betrayed or grief, there will be pain, but the suffering, it doesn't have to be there. You don't have to suffer through life, and it's something that
Right.
we really get to like give ourselves permission. You don't get a badge of honor for suffering, right? And
No.
sometimes it feels like that, and I like witnessed it also in my mom, that sometimes it felt like she's stepping into the victim mode so she can
Mm.
be acknowledged and seen and heard. I'm like, you don't have to suffer and be in victim mode to be loved and acknowledged. So giving ourselves permission to feel where we are and who we are, what is our truth, and then work through that and not take it, I don't want to say don't take it personally, but each and every one of us has different perspective, different bubble, different view of the world.
Right.
And I bet if you would tell my stepfather that he abused me, he wouldn't see it that way.
Right. Right. Exactly. Because a funny thing happens on the way to best of intentions. And I'm not saying that him sharing and speaking in that way was his best intention, but it's possible that him wanting to show up in a certain way in the relationship and the relation family dynamic activated him to a point where he didn't know what to do. And so he fell to his foundation of whatever he was programmed with and believed. And then he perpetuated that continuational pattern on you. And that's what caused the fracture, right? And I love the fact that you really acknowledge the fact that it's not about the other person changing in order to make it okay for you, and it's about you really utilizing that in a way that helps you for your own personal discovery. And I do think it's personal in the sense that it's always personal because we are our own unique person, but we don't need to receive what the other person is delivering towards us as truth. It's just that we get to be a witness of what's coming towards us and how we respond to it as our own personal truth, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I said like don't take it personally, I mean don't own it. Just because
Right.
someone does something or say something, it doesn't have to be your truth. And I love that you like explain, like observe it. You get to become the observer and say, is
Right.
this my truth? Do I really align with it? Do I want more of this in my life?
Mm.
Because if not, why would you receive it? Right? It's like there is
Oh,
a gift and you can
oh,
choose if you want to receive it or not. Then
oh,
you're empowered.
that's so powerful. That is so powerful. It's powerful because it's a transition point. It's okay to feel however you feel when the experience happens, because that's where you are, but you don't have to receive it. You don't have to allow it to enter into your vessel, right?
Mhm.
And but you can allow yourself to as honoring your vessel, to allow it to metabolize in your system and then let it go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And whatever it takes in order to do that, which kind of leads me into the beautiful space that you hold for people so that they can really do that, because these things stay stuck within us.
Yeah.
Um, like you had inferred with your mom that she didn't realize she was living through a certain lens. We all are living through our own lens. And
Mhm.
so it does, I believe we are here to master ourselves and be connected to something, the thing that is biggest and greatest above us, what God or source or the universe or whatever meaningful it is to us. But to place yourself and allow is such a beautiful alchemy.
Mhm.
Happens. And I have not participated in your retreat yet, but I'm going to say that like I can just only imagine the beautiful.
It's so powerful. I feel it's so powerful. Like creating, I feel like it's so necessary to create safe spaces
Yes.
for people to come in and they can completely and not only surrender and trust and be themselves and really rediscover who they are, right? Because when you're going through the same friends, same family, same work, same environment, it's the same. When we just finished our beautiful mastermind, Soulful Success Mastermind, a couple days ago. I am hosting with one of my clients a beautiful 3-day retreat here in Tulum before we moved out, about soulful sensuality for women coming back to their power and to their womb. And
Mm,
I feel like when you can bring people into the safe space, when they can be completely taken care of, like it's like putting them in the bubble so they can just like relax and like release all of the heaviness of the world on their shoulders, and everything is provided. Like they fly in and we have private drivers, private chefs, we have massages, we have like different facilitators on, different excursions, healing modalities. You literally walk away as completely new person. You're re-inspired, you're reignited, and it's so necessary, especially for us when we are guiding, leading, healing others, reminding them that they are their own gurus and healers, right? It's truly about being in the safe space, and it's like clean your slate, come back home, come back to yourself, come back to your truth. And I love attending. Like this year, I don't even know how many events I hosted. I filled 3. I think we did 3, and I attended 2 events this year, and then I did some online. But the thing is that for me, when I do the live events, when I attend, for me it's like the time to check in,
yeah.
let the world outside be,
Hmm.
and come back to be with yourself.
Yes.
And I remember, do I still want to do this? Who am I now at this moment? Who am I becoming? Do I like the trajectory? Do I like my life? Is there anything that has to be shifted? And you're doing it in a guided, safe space.
Yeah.
It feels like it truly accelerates like months, years of your inner own work. That is
Mhm.
beautiful. You have everything you need within you. Yet having other, therapists, guys, coaches, mentors who can create that safe space for you,
Mhm.
you just leap and fly faster than
Yeah.
trying to climb on the tree and for a few months figuring it out if you can jump or not, right? It's so necessary.
Oh my gosh, that speaks into woof. Oh, you're calling me out here. I mean, I used to be that, right? I used to be the one that said, I have to do this on my own. I've got to figure it out for myself. Nobody else is going to help me. And all of the things that you tell yourself, which there are beautiful things that happen when you are able to achieve some sort of self mastery. However, I think that the feminine energy and the divine feminine asks us to surrender and find the safe space where we can do that. I think back to the beginning of the beginning of the beginning of the beginning, right? When women would gather together in the rivers, in the lakes, and they would hold that space, safe space in the moonlight and wash each other's hair and allow themselves to really just be held by nature, held by one another, right? And we, in our society, and it doesn't matter where we live, we're really not receiving that. We're not able to receive that. We don't have the spaces. Our lifestyles aren't the same. Um, so yeah, I'm totally with you. And especially that safe container, right? So to me, the safe container is equivalent to kind of like the masculine energy, right? So the true masculine energy is holding the space to allow the feminine to be wild and free and expressive and all of the things, right? So it's such a beautiful thing, and it's so amazing that you get it. Like you get it at such deep levels. And I I know you've shared part of your journey, but how did you actually curate, like how did having a retreat, like doing that? Because I know there's also people in our communities that really want to be able to do that, asking for a friend, maybe for myself. I don't know.
Well, one, you have my number, so if you want to go deeper, we can. And it's fascinating, Sharon. When I was at the beginning of my journey, there was literally a sense of survivor. Like, I
Mm,
gotta change something, I gotta do something, because if not, I'm not going to be here. I felt so heavy, in my depression. And
mm,
so the first thing that I really needed was hope and motivation. I just
mm,
needed to be motivated every single day. So I'm not listening to the inner critic who is telling me, who do you think you are? And you cannot do this, and you're a loser, and you're unlovable, and all
mm.
the things that we sometimes go through, right? So the first I needed motivation, and thank God I found Louise Hay, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins, Les Brown. All these people became my online mentors. So instead of listening my inner critic, I literally brainwashed myself and I listened to them. I went to the gym listening to Les Brown, crying like a crazy, like flood of tears. People looking at me like, what is this weirdo? Like, like present crying. It's not that heavy, right? So it's just like I needed to be motivated. And then when I felt better, because yes, it brought me hope. When you hear all the stories of, like Louise Hay and healing her cancer, and, going from like sexual abuse and starting her life so late, right? It was just so beautiful and inspiring. And I'm like, it's never too late.
That's
You
right. That's right. It is. It's never too late. And I want people to hear that. It is never too late. I
know?
I hear that all the time where it's just like, well, at this point, it's
No,
it's
really,
too hard to remove myself from
no,
whatever it is that I'm in.
no.
It's never too late. And you're always right on time,
Yes.
right? When you decide to make that
I feel
transition.
like you're exactly where you're meant to be, and you will be always divinely guided. So
Mm,
that was like the first step for me. The second step, when I was starting to feel better, I was getting inspired. I saw
mm.
other women and what they were able to do. So I saw women having a podcast. I'm like, maybe I could start a podcast. It took me a year and a half of being in my head, and then meeting my husband, who was a really great podcaster. He could kick my booty and literally help me start my podcast in a week and a half. Like,
Wow.
so and then he was like, he interviewed over 800 people on his podcast. He used to have 12 hours live streaming Facebook, like interviewing podcast called
Wow.
Marathon. So he was exponential and so like helpful in my journey, but I
Mm,
started to be inspired, and that's when I'm like, oh, there are women who are doing live events. Maybe I could do that. I attended the events. I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it.
mhm.
I was really inspired. I started my podcast. I hosted my first live event with almost 100 women in Las Vegas 2019, called Meant for More. Then I hosted my first, also in 2019, was magical year before we got shot, right? Um,
Mm.
hosted first international retreat in Bali. I told my husband just yesterday, I'm like, I'm called to go to Bali. He was like, honey, I'm done traveling. I'm done. This is like dragging him, Europe and Mexico and Bali. He was like, I want to settle in. I want to have my office. So we're moving back to States, but I might go to Bali for 3 weeks and host 1 week retreat, end of November,
Amazing.
December, because I'm called to, because I
Yes.
experienced and I know how deeply it can shift people's lives. So first
Mhm.
I was motivated, then I was inspired, started to do the things. And now when I'm doing the things, now I'm motivation, inspiration, impact. Now I'm
Mm.
impacting other entrepreneur, leaders, healers, visionaries, women who want to be helping other.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing now. Now I am just like creating, amplifying the impact, because not everyone will resonate with me and my energy and my accent and my hair color, whatever it is, right?
Right. Totally get it.
I resonate with my clients. So
Mhm.
this is how I'm creating the impact globally.
Mm.
Not only have clients all over the world, but also my clients are impacting others. So
Yes.
inspiration, impact. And if
Mm.
you have something on your heart, look at those who are doing it the way you want to be doing it. Because they're, for example,
Mm.
mentors, guides, that they are teaching you to hustle and work hard, and you have to do 10 calls a day, and whatever. It doesn't work for me. I'm more in my feminine flow, and I help women to, you have to have both. You have to have balance of masculine and feminine, because if not, I will
Yes.
be just laying right there in the hammock and
Okay.
doing, you know that would be my expression of my feminine, or being swimming on a beach all day. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I
Yeah.
feel home. So I bring in the feminine and masculine, and I know which one to choose in a moment. And
Yes.
it's so powerful when you can like
Mhm.
do both and be it all. So
Mhm.
inspire yourself by those who are doing it, but they're doing it your way. For me,
Right.
like loyalty, relationships, long term, generosity. I am so deeply loving and nurturing that, like, if somebody doesn't want to come, I don't care. I don't care, because I care so much and so deeply about those who are ready, who are coming, who
Yeah.
are walking with me.
Yep.
Wasting my time if somebody didn't like my post or commented something I don't like. I don't care, really. And we get to come into the place. I know who I am. I know what's my heart. I know what's my mission.
Mhm.
I take all of my clients through like soulful ascension journey, which is 3 stages
Right.
of awakening. First, you start with you. Who are you? What are your beliefs? Where are you coming from? It's like you with you.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
second stage is when you are you and the world.
Mm.
How
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
you like serving to the world? Do you have your
Mhm.
business, or are you the best mother ever, or are you
Right.
taking
Right.
care of puppies? Whatever it is for you. Maybe you're just picking up trash when you're walking back home, right? You're making the world a better place. Let's not think that all of us
Yeah.
have to be entrepreneurs. I didn't want to be entrepreneur ever in my life, and look at me like 6 years later.
Yeah.
And the last thing, it's what you said at the beginning, Sharon. It's the connection with the divine.
Mm.
When you
Mhm.
already know who you are, you know you're serving the world, how can you go even deeper in your devotions? Connecting with the
Right.
divine, connecting with the God, connecting with the source. It's, you're already in your knowingness, you're already making impact. How can you connect even deeper so
Yeah.
you can stay there? So
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think that is so beautiful. And the fact that you're able to take this infinite amount of knowledge and information and possibilities of transition, right, into an awakening and place it into um, a foundation, right, where people can have a concept and understand a little bit about what these three intentionalities are, right? So that there is an understanding um, of of the process of the journey, right? And because people can get stuck.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you acknowledge the fact that you are a little more in your feminine. I'm more in my feminine. Holding space for people, though, it's a very assertive kind of a position, right? And so you and I are holding space a lot. So that's really where that energy, that masculine energy, is showing up in the world.
Mhm.
And so I think it is always a balance, but it's to your point, like there sometimes are judgments about the way that it has to be done or should be done. And so
Mhm.
whenever I hear absolutes, I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, put it through the filter. And like you said, don't take it personally. Don't make it like I'm
Mhm.
doing something wrong, but just that this is everybody's on a different part of their journey and everybody's journeying different, right? Um, so I just want to say thank you. And I'm so grateful for you coming today. It's just been, I was so looking forward to sharing space with you. I can't even tell you, I really, really was. And I'm so grateful that we were able to do this today. Um, I think that one of the most important takeaways that I have, and I want to hear yours, the most important takeaway that I have that I want people who are listening to this to know is that we need you to step forward. If we didn't have the Louise Hay and the Wayne Dyer and the Les Browns and the when you were saying that, I was like, yep, right. Um, what would it have been? Les Brown says it best, right? What a shame for us to go back into this earth without moving forward and sharing our gifts, right? And I love the way you're sharing your gift now. I look forward to the way that you evolve into the next level of whatever it is that is meaningful to you and that you're called to do. And I hope you'll come back again and come and share more about what you're doing. So if you want to just share what is most important that you'd like for people to take away.
I feel I absolutely love what you said because I'm like here like a little donkey with my head. I'm like, yes, yes. And I feel like just remembering you're perfectly made for your purpose because very often we are trying to be someone who we are not. So we please our family, please our bosses, and things like that.
Hmm.
Instead of being true to our heart. So when you remember you're perfectly made for your purpose, the way you look, the way you think, the way you experience the world, we need you. You are such a needed puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be like everyone else because then you cannot fit in and you're not even
Yeah.
meant to fit in, right? But it's just like
Right.
you came to be here, you, and if you're not, the world is missing out and so are you.
That's right. That's right. Just have the strength to really just show up as you. That's all we need. And we need you. So, oh, Petia, it has been such a joy. I'm going to include all of the ways to be able to get in contact with you in the show notes. We're going to be on all of the audio platforms and also YouTube. And I will make sure also if you want to just give your Instagram is probably where you
My name,
have the
yeah,
most.
Petia Kolibova. That's why
Okay.
I'm the most. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you again. So much love. I love you. And I love everyone who's decided to join in today. Please come back for another episode. Please like, subscribe, share, especially if you love this episode, and leave us a review. Okay, thank you. Until the
Thank
next
you.
time, peace and love.